going on, everyone? Chase Daniel here, episode 3 of Chase Chats, and we have a very special guest today. His name is Taysom Hill. You may know him as the Swiss Army knife of football players. A little bit of do-it-all, plays a little tight end, plays a receiver, quarterback, running back, you name it, special teams guru. He's the guy. So I want to get right into it, but I first want to thank our friends over at Socialive for everything that they've been able to do. This broadcast is brought to you by them. It's been a great experience to have these first 3-4 episodes of Chase Chats on there. It's super easy. That's why I'm able to broadcast live to multiple platforms. So just want to send a shout out to them. And we're going to bring Taysom in right now. Taysom, what's going on, man?
Oh, not much. How you doing, Chase? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. Thanks for joining. What's going on, man? How you doing? Where's off season at?
We're doing well. Off season is in Utah, so we're right in Provo, Utah, right where I played college ball. And man, we're kind of stuck inside and waiting out this quarantine and this coronavirus stuff and laying low.
Yeah, it's tough, and that's what I wanted to talk to you a little bit about today. Was like, what's the average day like in quarantine for the Hill family? Because I know for a fact you're staying in shape. And I also saw, because I follow your wife and you on Instagram, that you've been baking and cooking a lot more.
Oh, man. Both of those is true. Yes. Look, I would say it was really hard. I would say I was kind of stuck at home for the first couple of weeks, and I was trying to figure out, because I was training at BYU and using all their facilities, and then this hit and BYU shut everything down. And so I lost like my weight room, like my nutritionist, like everything. And so I was stuck in home, trying to find equipment, order some stuff, and then do at-home workouts. So a lot of body weight stuff. I could certainly go find a hill to run outside here and doing that. But then I recently just found out a neighbor of ours has, big in-home gym, and he's closed it off to his family, and then me and one other guy that works at BYU, Chad Lewis, former NFL guy, Philly guy actually.
Yeah.
All pro tight end. So I'm okay now, and that's kind of my process now, staying in shape.
Yeah, it's difficult a little bit, like you were saying, because a lot of people don't realize, and a lot of people have this issue, like they go to gyms and there's a fellowship there and they are a family there, but all of a sudden, like everything closes other than essential businesses, especially, out here in California was one of the first ones. And, same thing for me. It's like you go to your gym, but as a professional athlete, it's hard to get training in at home. I mean, It really is. There's only so much you can do. And especially with you, being sort of a do-it-all guy, I'm sure you've been running a lot more, stuff like that.
Yeah, and I think as a quarterback, you can supplement your at-home workout stuff that's a little bit different, where you don't need the weights. But I feel like the weight component for me is important, and that's a big part of my off-season training. So I have the strength to maintain throughout a season. And for 2 weeks, I didn't have that, I recently found a place to make sure I do that. But, it's all about trying to be responsible. I certainly don't want to take an unnecessary risk for my health, but then, I don't want to expose other people to it either. So, we're trying to be responsible, but then at the same time trying to take care of myself and my family, because part of my job is staying in shape. And
there's no question. And but with the baking and cooking you've been doing, have you been staying in shape? Because Emily, I know you're probably watching this. She posted the most amazing, like cinnamon rolls that you just did?
Yeah, we just did some cinnamon rolls. Yeah.
Have you always been like a cook or baker or what?
So I'll tell you, I had a surgery after the season this year, just on my pinky, nothing crazy, but I was laid up for a couple of weeks. And so I started watching the Great British Baking Show. Have you seen it?
I have.
Dude.
Yep.
I'm telling you, I just started making a list of things that I saw on that show that I was like, I'm going to try to bake that. I'm going to try to make that. And then we've been quarantined, so I'll go work out in the morning for several hours, but then I have nothing else to do.
Yeah.
So that's what I've been doing in my free time.
What are some other dishes that you've made?
Oh, I did like a 3-tier cake. I'll send you a picture. It's actually it turned out okay.
Okay.
I did like a lemon meringue pie. Um, Man, I don't know. And then I've been barbecuing a lot. I've been
Okay.
barbecuing a lot. So
Yeah, that's something that we got into when I was there in Kansas City or in New Orleans a little bit with you was the whole barbecue aspect of it on the Traeger and everything like that. That was fun.
we got the Traeger fired up, and we do something on that pretty much every night. Yeah.
That's awesome. So I know you've said, and I want to transition into like the college ball aspect where you played at BYU. You already mentioned BYU. I know you've got a really great relationship with everyone there at BYU. But something I wanted to talk about is you were there for 5 years, right? And you medical redshirted your last year.
Yep.
But something that you said sort of struck my tune a little bit was that you've been staying in shape. You've been really healthy for the most part in the National Football League.
Yep.
Talk a little bit about just the 4 years that you had season-ending injuries. A lot of people don't understand that you were hurt 4 out of your 5 years. I mean, just like what it took to like come back year after year, and just like the fortitude it took and the determination. I mean, because those are scary things you went through. I was reading up on it a little bit before, and I know you've talked to me a little bit about it as well.
Yeah. Man, I think it was difficult. You know, as I look back through the years, each year had something unique about it. I would say the physical aspect of it, you know, you and I are used to rehabbing. We're used to like working out, staying in shape, and to get back and do the rehab was okay for me. But the hardest thing for me was the mental and the emotional side.
Yeah.
So, you know, my freshman year, I got injured, but, you know, I think the thing that helped me was I knew that I had 4 additional years to play. But then I got injured my junior year, and I look at my junior, senior, and then, you know, my last redshirt senior year, I went from being a team captain, you know, starting quarterback, like an intricate part of the team. And then you realize that like you go down, but life still goes on, and they still have to put a team out there. They still have to go and compete. And that was really difficult for me to feel like I was part of something that meant so much to me, and then just to see this machine continue to move forward.
Yeah.
So I will say some of the best advice that I received was Jim Harbaugh called me, and he shared an experience that he had when he was a junior, I believe his junior year at Michigan, and he broke his arm. And he was like, bro, like, all we want to do is compete. That's all we want to do. Like, that's how we're wired. That's how we're built. And it's terrible that we can't compete on the football field, or you can't compete right now, but you can compete in life. You can compete in the classroom. You can do other things to feel like you are adding value to your life, to your wife's life. And really that's what I did. So I started competing my butt off in the classroom. I started working at a venture capital fund, you know, here in Utah. And that for me is really what got me over the hump every year, because I felt like I was still doing something to contribute to, you know, Taysom Hill Incorporated, as I was trying to build a brand around myself.
And a lot of people don't realize that it's life after sports, right? Like sports is only so long, and you are only promised so long, but you're going to be retired from the league. And a lot of people don't, a lot of fans don't like to hear the word retired. Well, the average NFL career is 3.5 years. So you are truly retired at like 25, 26 years old, but you were able, and I was able to get another chance to compete at the National Football League level. And that's something pretty cool, and something where, you know, when you came and joined us in 2017, you were undrafted. I was undrafted in 2009, and there's a little bit of a chip on your shoulder type thing. Like at least for me, there was, just because, you know, we felt like we had a really good college career, and all of a sudden, you know, you're not drafted because you don't have a strong enough arm, or, you know, you're too short, so forth and so on. But like with you in Green Bay, you got a chance in the preseason. And this is what I tell people all the time is make the most of your opportunity. You got a chance in the preseason in Green Bay in 2017, and you balled out. Threw a couple touchdowns, you showed your athleticism, and then we signed you, I think, the first week of the season, right after training camp. I think Green Bay cut you. Yep. And in New Orleans, they signed you, and you came on and we're just a sponge. Talk a little bit about that experience, just like going from Aaron Rodgers, first of all, to Drew Brees, because those two are pretty good players.
Yep, no doubt. So there was a lot in there. I think my expectation going into the NFL, because of the injuries, and my last injury happened the last game of the regular season, my redshirt senior year. So honestly, I didn't have an expectation to get drafted. I was just hoping and praying that someone would give me an opportunity. And as you mentioned, I got one, and that's all I wanted. That's all I could ask for. And I will tell you, specifically when I was in Green Bay, I was only there for a few months, and Aaron was a great mentor to me. I was there for OTAs and then through training camp, but I felt like that staff between Aaron, our quarterback coach there, Coach Van Pelt, Coach McCarthy, like I felt like those guys believed in me, and they created opportunities for me, and it was empowering to me. So I would also say, like, as an older person, for yourself, being in the league and being around a lot of young players, and this was something that I gravitated towards, Drew and yourself, that you guys you believed in your teammates, and it's empowering. So I was lucky enough to be around great people that created opportunities for me, and then the rest is kind of history.
Yeah, and that's something I also want to talk about. More opportunity, like you said, like you came in as the third quarterback, and a lot of times coming out of college, you don't know how guys are going to act. But you're 30, right? Or almost, you're 30 in August. First of all, so you're going into your fourth year. Okay, most guys in your position should be like 25 or 26. So you've got some time, and you've just seen a lot more than a normal like fourth year player. But what I was so impressed is that you just you were like a sponge, and I've used this analogy a lot. You didn't say a lot your first year, but you could tell that you really wanted to learn from Drew, and you wanted to sort of replicate what he was doing. You'd be sort of crazy if you didn't, because he's a future Hall of Famer. But also you asked really good questions, and then all of a sudden I remember it's like December, and we're playing Carolina, and all of a sudden Sean calls you into his office like, "Hey, do you want to play special teams?" And your reaction was,
Absolutely.
Absolutely, because it was an opportunity, but you have never done it before. And then you go out and you make two, not one, you make two special teams tackles. One of the funniest stories of that game, and I'll let you get into it a little bit, but that Carolina game, all I remember, you were running down on kickoff and you made a tackle, and you were so amped up, bro. I've never seen you like that. But the first thing you say, I think you make your first tackle, the first thing you come straight to me and goes, "Man, my hamstrings hurt. I got to stretch these boys out."
Oh man, that is so true.
I mean, what were your thoughts on running? I mean, you're literally running down on kickoff. You're a quarterback, first of all, and what are your thoughts? Doing that for the first time.
Yeah, I think it really goes back to I was an undrafted free agent, and I was hoping and praying for an opportunity. So I didn't feel like I was in a position to say no towards an opportunity to get on the football field. And frankly, I know that this is something that you and I had talked about before. As you go through a week of practice and you prep and you spend as much time as a starter to learn the playbook, to watch the starter take all the reps, because you never know when your number is going to be called. It was really hard for me my rookie year, going to Minnesota, being in that environment, new stadium, and then I didn't even put a jersey on. I didn't have a helmet, but I went through the week of practice, and that was really hard for me. So when Coach called me and said, "Hey, what do you think about this?" Man, it created an opportunity for me to put my helmet on, get a jersey, and get on the football field. Yeah. So the ultimate goal never changed, and that was to play quarterback, but it was one step closer to getting on the field, and that's what I was all about.
And that's what I've always loved about you is the fact that it didn't matter how the opportunity came. You were always yes, I'll do it, because you wanted that opportunity. And a lot of people listening out there, whether it be high school or college, it doesn't matter how you get on the field. It doesn't matter what you do, but when you get on the field, you perform, and that's what you've done. And you've carved out. I mean, just in 18 and 19. I mean, I remember last year watching, the divisional game, and just this guy is all over the place. 50-yard pass, 50 yards receiving, rushing. I mean, everywhere. And then the Thanksgiving game too. It's just like when you are on the field, like great things happen. And because of the city that you play in, New Orleans, it's like Taysom Hill is like the best guy in the world, which is great. And I know you don't like talking about it, but Drew will say the same thing. It's really cool, like how you guys have genuinely just like, you know, fell in love with the city, and the city's fell in love with you guys.
Yeah. Well, it's easy to love something that loves you back, you know, and I've felt nothing but love from the city. And I think about, and I'm sure you've had the same experience as well. I look at Coach Westhoff, who was our special teams coordinator, and I mean, that guy thinks that I can do no wrong. You know, he is literally my biggest fan. I look at Coach Payton, and Coach Payton has created opportunity after opportunity. Coach Lombardi, Coach Carmichael, like, and when you feel that type of, you know, love from your coaches, you know, I felt that from Drew, you know, where he took me under his wing, and where we're watching film, or he's trying to find plays to get me touchdowns, you know, as we're watching film. You don't want to disappoint those guys. Yeah. You know, so you have an added motivation to make sure that you're ready on game days, to make sure that your off-season prep is where it needs to be, so you're ready when training camp comes. And I would say that is something that's missing in sports, you know, where I think that so many times football is this hard-nosed sport. It's whether it's high school, college, but you don't ever take the time to show appreciation for individuals, you know, where you create opportunities for them. And I'm telling you, like, it has been so empowering for me. And I really credit all those people that got me where I'm at.
Well, I think you hit it right on is, you know, I'm going into year 12, and the best teams I've been around, bar none, are the teams that have a relationship like none other. And I'm talking like after practice, you're having a defensive cookout or an offensive dinner, or you're going to offensive line dinner with the quarterbacks nonstop. I mean, it's just, those are sort of the best teams I've been around. And and like you said, it's a relationship-based business. And, you know, my wife and I spent a lot of time in New Orleans, 5 years of my career there. And one thing New Orleans is known for is food. And we all know you like food because you baked. And if I had to ask, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I am. Like, what is your joke? No, never. What is your favorite restaurant in New Orleans?
Oh man, that is so hard to narrow it.
There's so many.
I can tell you the spot that my wife and I take people to over and over again is Saba, which I don't know if you ever went there.
I was never there with it, but I think I know where you're going.
Yeah. So, you know, it was Shaya, and then, you know, Lon Shai opened up another one, Saba, and just the uniqueness of this Mediterranean food, you know, the hummus, the pita bread, I'm telling you, it is so good.
Do you like sushi? What about Rockin' Sake? Rockin' Sake is probably my favorite.
Rockin' Sake is definitely top 3. Yeah.
I've never had a bad meal there. Well, let's get you out of here, but I do. The first 2 episodes, I got some backlash. I didn't ask Twitter or Facebook questions.
Uh-oh.
So there's like 3. They're super easy. The first one comes from Jersom. He asks, I'd love to know if you believe undrafted free agents are underrated, generally speaking. We sort of hit on that, but your thoughts?
Man, I think it's a tough question. Generally, I would say no. And I go to this just because if you look at the draft, and I think New Orleans had 5 draft picks last year, because we traded some, but you look at that, that's only 5 spots, you know? And so that's just the nature of the beast, where you only get 5 picks or 7 picks. Maybe you have a little bit more one year, depending on the team. And so I think teams rely pretty heavily on undrafted free agents. And if you look at the Saints team last year, you know, we had 4 or 5 undrafted free agents. There was one game, I think, where there were 4 undrafted free agents that caught touchdowns. So I'll just quote Coach Payton, his first meeting, and I know you know this, but the first meeting that we have, he says, I don't care how you got here, but you're here, and that's all that matters, and there's no guarantees. So
that's so true.
My guess is that's how most people around the league view it.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree. That's actually a really good answer. Jill Schofield asks, "What do you love the most about playing for the Saints?"
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head about playing for a good team. It's all about relationships, and I think that relationship, like the fan base, embodies like the relationship that we have in a locker room. So, as you look in the fans, like everyone's partying, they're all having a good time, but they're having a good time because they feel close. It's a close knit community, and our locker room is so good. There's so many great people in that locker room, and from executives all the way down, it's just a great staff, and that's what makes it so much fun.
Yeah, I can definitely attest to that. And the last one comes from Facebook. Todd Williams said, and I actually want to know this too because I don't know it. Out of all the positions you play for Coach Payton, which is your favorite and why?
You should really answer this, Chase. Yeah, I think it's quarterback.
Yeah.
The end goal for me has always been to play quarterback in the NFL, or as we've talked, is to just have an opportunity to play quarterback in the league, because that's all you can really ask for. And so that's definitely the funnest thing that I've done.
I would no doubt agree with you 100%. Hey guys, we're out of time today. Thank you so much, Taysom, for coming on. Thank you guys for watching. We will be back Wednesday with a special guest, actually two guests, Zach and Julie Ert. So make sure you tune in. Taysom, thanks so much, man. I appreciate you.
All right, man. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.